Our mango trees are currently loaded with budwood, which means that it's time for me to start grafting mango. It also means it's time for you to start grafting mango. For those of you who don't know what grafting is a cloning technique where we take a cutting from a tree, we prep that cutting, and we fuse that cutting into another tree. We essentially plant a tree inside of a tree. This video is a tutorial that will teach you how to graft mango. And while it's primarily meant for people who are buying 5 packs of mango cuttings from me at guacfarm.com, it can apply to anyone. If you have access to cuttings on your own, you can apply what you learn in this video and go out and try your hand at grafting. First, what are the supplies you're going to need? I like to lay out a big piece of paper on the table first. Next, you'll need a Sharpie. It's important to label things. Pruning shears, a pruning knife, or you could use a razor blade. Grafting tape, parafilm or buddy tape, some stickers for labeling, a cup of antibacterial soap mixed with water, and a cup of manzate. And finally, a roll of toilet paper or paper towels. Next, I'm going to label my piece of paper. That's the way I keep track of my cuttings. A little trick I use when I'm taking my cuttings is I just mark them with the leaves. So today, I did my Naomi's with 2 leaves. My Balliets, I left all the leaves on them. And then the Valencia Pride, I left 3 leaves. Now I've got all my materials, I've got my cuttings, and you see behind me here, I have my mango seedlings. So I've got everything I need at my fingertips right now. Again, my materials, my cuttings, and my seedlings. Something I forgot, in addition to all the materials, you also want to have some hydrogen peroxide or like alcohol, like medical grade alcohol. I don't mean like Southern Comfort. I mean like, rubbing alcohol. And a little toothbrush, because we want to sterilize our tools. So that's what we're going to do first. I'm going to start out with my pruning shears here. So I'll just put a little bit of hydrogen peroxide. Scrub the pruning shears really good. You'll want to do the same thing for your knife or razor blade. Try not to forget that you're working with very, very sharp tools. You don't want to take something that's really fun and turn it into a visit at the hospital. Although I must say, most of my trips to the hospital started out as doing something really, really fun. The next thing we want to do is clean our cuttings. But before we clean our cuttings, let me go out in the grove and show you how we select our cuttings. Next, we'll talk about how you select a cutting. Maybe you didn't buy a cutting off of me or off of someone else who sells cuttings online. Maybe you've got a tree in your backyard you want to take a cutting from. Maybe your neighbor has a delicious mango that you'd like to grow and they've given you permission to harvest a cutting. There's 3 things you're looking for. First, if there's fruit on the branch, don't cut it. Number 1, it's too late. That cutting isn't going to produce for you. But number 2, why would you waste the fruit? So now I'm looking for a viable cutting at the end of a branch that doesn't have fruit on it. And that comes in 2 forms. You have cuttings like this guy here that have a cupped end. And you got them like this guy here that have a little crown at the end. Both of these are capable of pushing out new growth. The crown is going to push new growth straight out the middle. This one here with the cup, it's going to push new growth from the sides. If you can see that little bitty piece of green coming out there, and there's a little bitty piece of green coming out there. Here's a great example of what I'm talking about. This is one of those ones with a cupped edge, and you see here, there's new growth starting, all that new green growth. Now let me show you a close-up now that we're back. You see, look, I've got cuttings that have the crown, and I've also got cuttings that have a cup. And if you look real close, you'll see this guy here is already just about starting to push through. See that? How nice. As I show you here in the close-up, take a look. The Naomi, it's kind of dirty. You can see some fungus and some dirt on them. The Balliets are a little bit cleaner. The Valencia Pride are somewhere in the middle, but it's time to clean our cuttings. We're going to do that with antibacterial soap. Now, antibacterial soap, it's just regular old soap. Just get yourself some antibacterial soap, mix it in water. I'm just going to scrub these cuttings. Just give them a little bit of a scrub. Now, if you look at my other vids, you'll see I don't usually do this, and I don't usually go through this cleaning process, because I'm more one to graft 100 or a couple of hundred trees in one day and just kind of let the ones that take and let the ones that fail. But I'm doing this for those of you that are buying cuttings from me from guacfarm.com, guacfarm.com. If you've bought some cuttings from me, or you've bought some cuttings from someone else online, you don't have the luxury of hundreds and hundreds of cuttings to go out and just keep trying and trying. When you fail, you got to make it work with the ones you got. And so by cleaning them, you're really increasing your odds. Let me give you this little close-up so you can see the difference. Look at how nice and green that one is. And that guy's covered in fungus and junk, so let me clean that guy off. Okay, now that I've got my cuttings clean, next I'm going to wrap them with this tape called parafilm. You could find this on Amazon. It's kind of, I don't know what it's made of. It's kind of like a waxy, almost reminds me of wax paper. And I'm going to wrap my cuttings in this stuff nice and tight. Now this parafilm, when the cutting takes, when the graft takes, it will actually grow right through the parafilm. You don't have to go back and remove this stuff. You can just put it right on your cutting. Look, I'm twisting it right on there. So look at here, I just twist the scion and I wrap it up. You can put a little bit of a stretch into it and just wrap your cutting. Okay, so there's a cutting wrapped in parafilm. And as I handle these cuttings, I'm going to try to grab them in the middle. I'm going to try to avoid going down the bottom, because that's the part we want to keep really clean and bacteria free. Now it's time to graft these onto one of my seedlings. And I'm looking to the left here at this seedling here because he's kind of thick down at the bottom here, and looks like the diameters match up pretty good. So I think I'm going to use this seedling to go with this first Naomi cutting. So the first thing I'm going to do to prepare the seedling is look for about where the diameters match. So that's probably down about right there. I'm going to cut my seedling. Okay, this I discard. Hold on, let me take a break here. There is the coolest little green spider crawling around on this seedling here. Look at that guy. Man, is that a cool looking creature. Anyone who knows what that is, go down into the comments and tell me what kind of, I think it's a spider. Anyway, some kind of insect. Anyone who knows, go down in the comments, tell me what that guy is. Okay, so now I'm going to take this Naomi cutting and I'm going to graft it onto this random seedling that I grew. We're going to make a slit in this seedling, and we're going to cut a wedge in our cutting and insert the wedge in the slit. So the first thing I want to do is make the slit in my seedling, and I don't want to do it dead center. I want to do it a little bit off to the side, and I'm going to just rock this grafting knife. Now you can use a razor blade if you want to, but I suggest you either get a grafting knife or a razor blade, because a lot of knives are wedge shaped, right? And as you cut down into your seedling, you don't want to be like getting wider as the blade goes in, because you're going to cause it to split and crack. There's another spider. And so grafting knives, look at, see, that's like solid all the way across. It doesn't get wider, much like a razor blade, but a razor blade's a little harder to work with. So I went down just about an inch, okay? Now the next thing I'm going to do is take my cutting and I'm going to cut a wedge in it. And ideally, if you could do it in one swipe of the knife. Now, really experienced grafters are better at this than me, but if you could just do it with one cut on each side, 1, 2, they say that's the best way to do it, but I'm not quite there yet, so I have to shave this guy down just a little bit there and just a little bit on this side. Alright, so here you see I have a cutting, and you see wood in the middle, you see bark on the outside. Right in between the bark and the wood is the cambium layer, and that's where the grafting takes place. And also in my cutting here, I have that same cambium layer that's between the bark and the wood. I want to line those up. Now you notice I'm not touching this. I don't want to get any bacteria or dirt or anything on where I made my cut. I'm going to dip that in my manzate, then insert that into my seedling, and I want to line up so that at least one side of the cambiums marry up, so that they match up, because that's where the healing is going to take place. That's where the grafting is going to take place. Then I take a little bit of this grafting tape. I could also use the parafilm if I want to, but I don't want to waste the parafilm. I want to use that for preparing the cuttings. But I take my grafting tape, and I tend to buy the flexible grafting tape. You can get it on Amazon.com. It comes like rigid and it also comes flexible, and you could kind of stretch it out like I just did. And you want to close up this slit where the wedge is in. And as you're doing that, you want to make sure that the edge of your cutting matches the edge of your seedling, so that you're getting those cambium layers to marry up with each other. So here we go. I'm going to go around, and I've been taught to go, you know, you don't want to go super firm, but you want to go like with the firmness of like you're trying to stop bleeding. You know, like if your kid or a little kid came up to you, he had a cut on his finger, right? You want to wrap his finger up so you stop the bleeding, but you don't want to wrap it up so much that you cut off the blood supply, you know, to the rest of his finger, right? So then I come up a little bit onto the cutting, back down around the seedling, and then when I get back down, I take my tape and I spin it like this. And the reason I do that is to just make it a little bit stronger, because now I am going to go tight. Now I'm going to give it a nice tight wrap. I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to just make a little knot. I think this is a half hitch. You just hold it out, make the knot, and pull like that. And there you have a grafted tree. So I've got the cutting inserted into the seedling. You can see it right there. And then I'm going to label it Naomi. N-A-O-M-I. Then I just take my sticker, put it on the plant, put it on the pot, and now I know that's a Naomi. And you now have a tutorial that could take you through this step by step, right? You know what tools you need. You know what materials you need. You know that you need to start eating mangoes and planting the seeds so that you could grow seedlings. And you know not only that you need cuttings, but you know you can get your cuttings at guacfarm.com. GUACFARM.com. In addition to cuttings, we also sell our fruit when it's in season. We're going to have mangoes toward the end of May. We start with our avocados in mid-June. They run through February. We sell lychees. We have Monstera deliciosa, Mamey, Sapodilla. We got other stuff too. And while not essential for grafting, I think if you do your grafting in a Sleepy Lizard t-shirt or Sleepy Lizard cap, you'll have a higher success rate, because when we look good, we feel good. And when we feel good, we're more effective. Now, as you see, I got to get these balliots grafted. I got a bunch more seedlings. I'm going to go out in the grove and harvest even more cuttings and graft even more today. So while I do that, you go to guacfarm.com, and I will see you on the next video.